Yes. Namaste, everyone. Good day and good evening to everyone. My name is Abhishek Chanda. I'll be the moderator for this today's session. This is the fifth session where we are we have gathered to discuss Madam Kamlesh Kapur's book Partition: A Legacy of M.K. Gandhi. So till today, till in the four sessions, first session we covered the book in general, and then later till now we have covered up till the 30th. After Gandhi's arrival here, how uh, politics in India progressed. And today, our session today will be on Second World War, the tragic events such as Bengal famine, Noakhali, and about Gandhi's attitudes during those years. And ma'am, over to you now.
Okay, Namaste ji. Everyone, welcome again. And today's topic is the tumultuous years of that time, and what is going to happen in this Gandhi's priorities in early 40s. So so much was happening at that time that we have to really go only the mid 40s, because the next 3 years are jam packed with day to day developments, and it's going to be too long. So let's see. The first slide foreshadows the events of 40s. Now, it foreshadows because this is in the very first beginning, 1940, there was a Lahore session of Muslim League, and Jinnah declared two-nation theory at the time of independence. He said that there won't be any other alternative. If there is going to be independence, we will have to uh, agree to the partition. And of course, his condition, you'll be amazed what his conditions were. But anyway, so Gandhi's viewpoint on government, you see, he thought that the government is with the country, conflation of government and the country. Now, government is one thing that is called Rajya, and country is Desh. You see, country is a contiguity, and it has to have a government which is inclusive and cohesive. And it has its prior traditions. So he could not get the meaning or the difference that what he is going to, or Congress is going to govern, is a country, a nation, and nation cannot be divided. So he accepting the idea of division itself is wrong. Who gave the authority to Gandhi to bifurcate the country? It is not their property. And every time you are saying that, um, as if it is country is his personal property, and he is going to divide it among brothers. And this kind of nonsense continued. Now, there was something very important happened. In 1941, right away, while Gandhi inwardly had already accepted the idea of division, and he kept saying it, giving hints, but outwardly he was always saying that the idea of division is bad, and division will happen only over my dead body. So that kind of rhetoric continued all through even 1947. And as a result, um, there was no preparation for partition, because Gandhi had given his word. In the meantime, Maulana Azad uh, probably many people do not know, he was born in Medina. He was not even the native, but born citizen of India. So he came in the limelight, and he was a very strict Orthodox uh, Muslim, and there was absolutely for him, um, uh, Muslims had to preserve their heritage. So in the 1941 Congress session, Maulana Azad mentioned that in the free country, without mentioning the partition, in the free country, Hindus will respect the ancient traditions of Muslims, which means 7th century traditions, and the Hindus will have to shed their orthodoxy. I mean, look at this. And this guy is eventually going to be the education minister of the country. And this was in his mind. I do not understand what kind of people were attending the Congress session that they did not notice that he is going to suppress Hindus. Hindus will have to shed their orthodoxy. That means they have to deny their traditions, they have to annihilate themselves, and they have to respect their traditions, ancient traditions. So that is the background against which the entire history of the next 70 years, 75 years is going to move. So these two things, spotlights, I have given because this is his prescription for social harmony. And this is where Gandhi is conflating government with his government property with his personal property, inheritance. And this is where Jinnah comes. So these three foreshadow the coming of the next 75 years till today. The relevance of the book is this, that Gandhi died, but why we are so badly backing the Muslims till this day, at the cost of our own tradition culture, which has been badly eroded, ridiculed, and demonized. So please remember that everybody should remember that where things that are happening now, where are they coming from? In the meantime, with all this going on, Gandhi felt that, he's out of limelight. So he decided to call in 1942 the famous Quit India movement. And he gave the direction that the British should immediately quit. And now remember that this is the war going on. And the British are not concerned about India's independence right now, or even Gandhi's fasting, or whatever he was doing. Their priority was winning the war. In the midst of this kind of call was absolutely ill-fated. It was supposed to fail. But since he said it with all pomp and show, he did come into a leadership kind of position, and the highlight came on him. So he said, call for independence. He called for do or die. This was his slogan. Do or die. What does that mean? Do what and die for what? So this was unclear. I mean, to this day, it is unclear to me also to do or die. Now the nation, following his call, started demonstration, wide-scale demonstration, destruction of property, railway stations were destroyed, government buildings were attacked. And within 6 months, things were so out of control. Gandhi was arrested, Nehru was arrested, most of the leaders were arrested at that time. So wide scale violence was going on. And for this, again, Gandhi, in his loftiness, called it back and blamed Hindus for that. I do not understand. The nation was together. How many were Muslims? How many were Hindus? But anyway, he shifted the blame and he said, I'm sorry that the civil disobedience and Quit India movement cannot go on because Hindus have started non-violence, and that is against my principles. Nobody cared. The British couldn't care a wink about it. They didn't lose any sleep over what he said, what he meant. So Gandhi, Nehru, and all the leaders were arrested, and the protesters were also arrested. For them, there were severe punishments. Many were exiled. Many were given hard labor imprisonment, and so on and so forth. In the book, I have given the cell where Nehru was put up during the prison cell. It hardly looks like a prison cell. It looks like a room next to the library. So, and Gandhi was also equally comfortable. Um, in the meantime, a lot is happening. As I said, 1943, Netaji escaped. Actually, it began that when he was kicked out of the Congress Party in 1939, he left for Calcutta, and there he started his own party, which was called Forward Party, and he had massive uh, following. The students, the younger people, those who were militants and wanted things to be done as quickly as possible. You see, a surgical kind of operation, and no nonsense about non-violence or this or that, or principle or ethics or my dharma or my conscience, which was always on his Gandhi's tongue. My imam. Imam means conscience. So, and interestingly, I just came across this fact that one of his followers was the famous music director Anil Biswas. He was at that time in Bangladesh, and he was also one of the target for arrest because Netaji was placed in house arrest, and his followers were going to be arrested for taking out processions and all that kind of thing. So, in the midst of mass protest, to avoid imprisonment, Anil Biswas left and went to Calcutta. And in the meantime, from his house arrest, Netaji also escaped. He went to Afghanistan by train, then he went to Italy, and then he went to Hitler, Germany. Now war is going on. He thought that Italy will be very receptive to him, the idea of, you see, enemy's enemy is a friend. So they will help him in getting independence or declaration. So, but he was given a cold shoulder. These were very racist people. For them, India was better off as a colony. Then he went to Hitler. Hitler said, you could stay here, but the condition is that we will not give you any kind of support. You can have a radio station, half an hour, 1 hour talk in the evening, whatever you want to call it, and you can address your nation. But other than that, we cannot help. So, or you can go to Japan and do whatever you feel like doing. we will ensure your safety. At least that much they guaranteed. From Berlin, Netaji gave the first address, and he addressed the country with Jai Hind. And suddenly the whole country woke up with sheer excitement that Netaji is alive and he's still our leader. And he gave the address. Gandhi and Nehru were shocked, literally dumbfounded, because they had written him off. And inwardly, inwardly means that in that small group, in a private meeting of 4 or 5 people, he assured Nehru that, hey, don't worry about it. Even if Netaji Subhash comes back, he didn't call Netaji. If Subhash comes back, he will not be given any leadership position. We'll make it sure. So first of all, we want he should not come back. If he does, then the road is clear for you. We'll take care of it. So eventually, Netaji went to Japan, and in Tokyo, they gave him support. They said, we are with you. You help us in the war. And the prisoner of war, allies, including Indians, we will let them join your Azad Hind Fauj. So they really helped. Uh, and he founded the country. The first declaration of independence was done by Netaji. He declared the name of the country, Azad Hind. He was the first prime minister of the undivided country. He had his government, treasury, army, currency, everything. I have given the pictures of all those years in faded black and white, not good resolution, but the pictures are there in the book. And you can see how well organized that person was. In his military uniform, he not only looked like a leader, he also looked like the commander in chief. So, and of course, he was a charismatic leader as well, good speaker. So, wherever he went, to Malaysia, to Burma, to other places, he was welcomed. And people gave him so much money that it was equivalent to a big treasury. And that is how, you can have your own currency and army and well-governed treasury and government, because people are donating. People were giving everything to him. Whatever they were wearing in that huge, massive rally in one or other place, he was loaded with gold and jewelry and donations. So Gandhi's reaction, I have already explained. He was shocked by the news, and he decided, when he decided that Subhash comes and he will not be allowed to be in the leadership position, now we see the emperor is naked. You have heard the story that the emperor said that, make clothes, the best looking clothes for me. And the tailor did not make anything. He just kind of kept on pretending that he's dressing the emperor. So when the procession went, he was naked. Nobody dared to say that the emperor is naked. Till a child cried out, but he is naked. And now, if never before, Gandhi was naked. His real self came out, that he alone will remain the leader, with Nehru under as his protege, and he will not tolerate any other person. So that is the kind of person he was. So Gandhi's first he started fasting. And of course, he was sick during the prison. And because he was there for a longer period than just a day or 10 days. So he pleaded for being released. Now, this is extremely important. When you plead to somebody, obviously they are going to put some conditions. Okay, we release him. What are you going to give us? And he said, whatever condition you have, I'll abide by, and the Congress will abide by. Now he's giving word on behalf of the nation and the party. And party didn't know anything about it. I mean, some 5, 6 people, 10 people knew what's going on. Rank and file didn't know. And nation, of course, not. So he said he's ready to meet all the conditions. So immediately Wavell brought out the what is famously known as Wavell Pact, and he accepted partition and he signed it. Now this is 1944, 43, about that time when this was happening, and that means in writing, Gandhi has written, given in writing, that partition will happen. He also made some other demands that, all the leaders will be released, some were released. He said that all the protesters, followers should be released. And after signing the pact, Wavell said, nothing doing. We will take care of the protesters according to the British law. And he was released. Now, Wavell Pact. Now, Raj Gopalachari. You see, when Gandhi went into fast, he went into isolation. So probably I never mentioned it before, that during his fast unto death or something similar, nobody was allowed to meet him. And somehow Raj Gopalachari went there with a paper and he said that, what do you want us to do? Should we tell people that it's going to be partition or not? He says, I agree to the partition, and you can tell the governing body of the Congress, but don't make it public. If this is not deceit, I don't know what deceit is. So by this time he has already gone down as totally irrelevant, and all the time that he spent in groveling on the feet, literally. There's a picture, I don't remember if I have put it there in the book, but he's groveling, he's bending down on the shoes, pretending to be tying the shoelaces of Jinnah. So all this, Jinnah became more and more determined that with fools like that, country cannot be run, and we are better off having a separate Pakistan. Congress party's choices. A, blindly follow Gandhi. Masses were totally ignorant. He thought he's some kind of a god. So there was complete disconnect between the kingdoms. Now there are 560 kingdoms. What do they want? Where do they end up? The people and the British ruled provinces, absolutely there was a disconnect. What the Congress is doing, what Gandhi was doing, and not doing, whatever way. Now comes the war. I mean, this is the war going on and 1944 was really either Hitler will win and the British will be completely annihilated, and democracy will lose. The democratic world will lose. As a child, I remember in 1944, there were shortages. There was rationing of sugar, eggs were not available, wheat was given just in small quantities. and every essential item was rationed. So, because they had army to be fed, and Churchill's hatred manifests here because in Bengal, which is one of the richest Eastern Bengal, growing rice, and the Himalayan terrain, that also is very rich in growing rice. Everything was out of stock. The government took control of the stock, and the governor pleaded that people are dying. People are dying. They are emaciated. Please, some stock should be left for them. They are the growers. And even America said that we can send some food for the famine people. And Churchill said, no, nobody is going to, they are breeding like rats anyway. And if they are dying, let them die. He couldn't care less. So, and Gandhi's reaction, absolutely mum. Nehru made no statement, Gandhi made no statement, never visited the place. Everybody became dumb, deaf, and blind. So Congress took no part in alleviation of the miseries of those people. Having said that, we are now in 1944. The war is not over. The violence is going on, and it is absolutely a mess. And the only people who were comfortable with the situation were those who boasted about their conscience. You see, where conscience could not solve any of the problems the masses were facing, or even the British were facing. They were in a war. They were not playing games in the arena. And they were playing, they were winning, trying to win a war. And so this is where I'm going to end today, because it will continue. The next part is by itself kind of squeezed up, in the sense that those were the tumultuous years. Every day something was happening. Killings, lootings, raping. It was really a messy time of that decade. So now what am I going to do? I end this. And how do I get out of this? Escape. Okay. Escape. Okay. Okay. So that's all there is to be said for today. And now you can have the floor for questions. What's going on?
Good evening, everyone. You can ask the question directly to ma'am, or you can mail them in the, you can send them in chat box to me, and I will ask them.
So it is very puzzling on why Gandhiji had so much loyalty to one person, which is Nehru, and not to Netaji. And he should have done what is good for the nation, not for any individual family or person. So what is the reason for that?
Very plain and simple. You see, it is very plain. First of all, Gandhi wanted to be Mahatma and the sole leader. 1920s gave him the taste of being solely responsible for negotiations and also acting like a dictator. Once you get the taste of dictatorship, you don't want to let it go. So he wanted to prove all his stupidities and his talk about this or that, dharma and my conscience and non-violence. These were all rules for hiding his real ambition to be Mahatma of the entire country, including Sikh, Muslims, and everybody. So his entire policy was meaning the faith of the Muslim people in him, so that he can be their Mahatma, their Bapu as well. And he said in so many words later on.
So
So
it's the power. It's the
your
the power.
question is yes, I'm coming to that. So this is where Gandhi is. Now, where Netaji is. Netaji was selected as a IAS officer, civil service at that time, British civil service, and he was an administrator. He was a totally different personality, and he was a solution-oriented person. And the question of mixing Raj Dharma with morality was not in his cards. Administrator is administering, giving law and order and proper government. So a person trained like that could not be in the mix of the fellows like Gandhi. So that was one. The second was that he believed in solutions which included militant action, which eventually he did. And it was unfortunate that Japan lost. Otherwise, we had India would have been right up to from Afghanistan all the way to Burma. See, that is the misfortune. Not that I really wished Axis to win the war, but for India, that defeat was drastic. Some grounds lost, you can never retrieve. It was one of them. So it was not only a clash of principles, clash of approach, plans. Gandhi had no experience of anything except rhetoric and talking and writing. I don't think. He was like, I don't know how many know the poem Pied Piper of Hamelin, where the Pied Piper playing was led all the children playing the pipe, and children followed, and the whole city had no children. So Pied Piper of Hamelin is famous for children following the flute, the pipe. Now the question, what was the question just now flashed? Yeah. So Subhash Chandra had no place in the scheme of things. That is why not only he disliked them, he simply hated him, hated his existence in India. So we'll talk about that later when Japan lost and what happened to Netaji. But right now, this is where personalities are different. So, no other question?
I have one. It looks like when Gandhi was doing all such things, there were nobody, when we had almost like 40 crore people in India, nobody was able to see through his misdeeds. That's something which is really puzzling. That's one thing. Another thing is that these days I am also getting lots of doubts that whether Gandhi was basically planted by British themselves. So I'm actually moving too much extreme. And then, of course, I don't think I ever called him as Mahatma anyway. Your comments, please.
Yeah. In the last session, I mentioned that there were some people who saw through the game, who saw through Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, who he is. And Ambedkar was one of them. In 1932, he knew that he is a fake. And before his death, he gave a speech on BBC, and he explained who Gandhi was and how he was opposed to him. So, of course, Ambedkar was sidelined. And then the other people who were very sincere were Madan Mohan Malviya and Savarkar and Deen Dayal Upadhyay, many of them, but they were like ignored. So it was always in the limelight Sheikh Abdullah, Nehru, Maulana Azad, and Gandhi himself as the icon. So it is untrue that nobody saw through it, but some people were silenced and sidelined. Some people observed the silence because if Gandhi is saying, "Who are we? We are the minions. How can we, oppose him?" So they dared not oppose, even if they saw through it. But most of the Congress party was full of nonsense and whatever Gandhi parosed them. Paroso mean, served them on the plate. That is what they ate. So mouthfuls of it. So it was a show that was run by a small group of Gandhi and his followers. And of course, the mass movement was there. So Ambedkar admitted it, that Gandhi has united the nation. He said that, which I doubt to what extent if the Muslims were getting away and away from the Hindus, that's not union. And if one group is called Harijan, then what makes the rest of them as not God's children? So there are a lot of shenanigans for that intellectuals feel that they were shenanigans. But masses were kind of, united that whatever Gandhi says is fine, because they knew nothing. There was censorship like the newspapers.
Ma'am, I have a question. Now, in the previous sessions also, you had mentioned that Gandhi had basically lost authority or lost influence with the British because of various things he said and did. Now, what would account for this power over the independence movement that he had if he could not produce any results with the British, right? Was there is and another follow-up question is what kind of media support did Gandhi
One
have?
question at a time.
Okay, so first question. Okay.
Because then I lose I mix up both of them. So your question is if he was in the good books of British, why wouldn't he get some concessions? Is that the question?
Well, yes, you had said that the British has basically stopped listening to him.
Yeah,
In the years,
yeah. Now I understand what you're saying. The British thought he's a useful village idiot. So he can do no harm to them.
Something Chow and Lai said about Nehru also. Useful idiot.
Then we are on the same wavelength. I say the same thing for both of them. Village idiots. So, and they could play these guys, Mountbatten played them like, they were zeros and couldn't do anything. They were pygmies in front of the British. They were very astute. They tolerated him. They never wanted Gandhi to die. They said, let this weakling continue leading his masses, leading the masses astray, he doesn't bother us. He's incapable of bothering us, except creating a nuisance here and there, civil disobedience, fasting, They got used to that. 30 years of same thing being done. People, a point reaches that law of diminishing returns. So he had lost all relevance as far as the British were concerned. You die, you live. And Winston Churchill hated him. That half-naked fakir. That is what he used to call him. And so, they knew that these are straw men, and let the war be over and we'll deal with them. In fact, during the war, they never had the intention of giving independence. It was United States which pressured them that we signed the NATO North Atlantic Charter, that all the colonies will be free. After all, we were fighting for against dictatorship, so colonialism should be over. But Churchill knew he's not going to go with that. So you now understand, down the history, who were India's friends and who were India's enemies in the geopolitics of that time. So this is where Churchill is. They were not going to give any concession. In fact, after the first war, Jallianwala Bagh happened, Rowlatt Act happened. And after the Second World War, also behind the scene, lawlessness continued. And British did not help Hindus at all. So what was the second question now?
Second was, where was the media stand on Gandhi during his years? We do know that he used media earlier, but in the 30s and 40s, Indian media and foreign media, what was their stand on him? Did they basically that's it?
The media was filtered by the British government. There were Indian newspapers, and they were under the control. That they still continue to be called Lutyens media in the British club. So whatever the British gave them the news, they passed on. And that is why America came to know about the Bengal famine much, much later. And most of the things they didn't know even. So if you filter everything, the world media doesn't know. And especially during the war, they couldn't care less. And then as far as Russia was concerned, they were dealing with their own aftermath of the revolution and Stalin era purges. So you see, who has the time? Indians themselves don't have the time today to know their own history. And we expect the rest of the world at that time to care about India. India is just a colony. I mean, it's a shameful statement that do we really care? We are a small community here in Chesapeake, in Virginia. We have different groups. Individuals who cannot unite as a community, and they are just having comparison complaints and you see, one up the other competition, and then we don't expect them to be a nation. And this is exactly what was in the leadership at that time. You see how one person is doing all the damage, not caring for the opinion of the other people or advice of the other people or taking it. Now there was a question flashed that what was United States' interest? It was in the chat, I think. What was their interest in?
I can't see it in the chat, but I think we can do that. We have 15 minutes to the hour. So we can do that. It's an important one question.
And let me see, there was a question. Anyway, yeah, the chat. The United States were motivated by self-interest? No.
Can I have a question?
They were not motivated by self-interest because FDR at that time was the president of the United States for the fourth term, and he was really a believer in democracy. So as long as he lived, and Truman also, they believed that a country like India deserves freedom. So there was no motive about the trade at that time. The self-interest came when Nehru started leaning against allies and kind of came in the lap of Russia, Soviet Union. That is when the real rift came. And the British, the United States, plus Churchill also brainwashed Americans against Hindus, and that bias still continues. So you see, you have to see the line from Mahabharata again and again that pops up in my mind. Bhisham says that Durbhagya अतीत की गोद से जन्म लेता है. Whatever happened in the past, if there is a misfortune today, we are facing, disasters we are facing today, it was born somewhere in the past. The seeds were grown at that time. So
Can I have a question, please?
that is an extremely, wise saying. I don't think I can ever forget it. It's a lesson. So United States was sincere. And even for the POK business, Kashmir attack, they were taking the side of India. In spite of Churchill's telegrams and everything. So,
Can I have a question, please?
that's it.
Yes, please. One more question.
Mhm.
Can I have a question?
Yes. So we have time, 12 minutes.
Yeah, there is a direct message to me. How can we see your recordings? So please give a link to them.
The recording link has already been shared by Rajiv ji in the chat, and it's on the Twitter thread also, right? All of that will be found on the Twitter thread. Yes.
What is the question again?
Can I have a question? Can I have a question?
No other
Of course.
question. But there
No,
is
no.
someone has put
Can I have a question, please?
May I know your name, please?
I'm Ramesh Kumar from Tirupati speaking.
Okay, ma'am, we have 11 minutes to the hour, so we can take one more question. One last question.
somebody has raised the hand.
Yeah. It's me.
I also raise my hand.
It's me.
Okay, ji. Yeah.
What I wanted to ask is, did Gandhi have shown any contempt for, Brahminical patriarchy at any point of time, which he has reflected towards the entire hatred of Hindus? And he did not help Hindus in any way, anywhere. What was the basic cause behind it?
What was his cause for hating Hindus?
Yeah.
Actually, he was not hating Hindus. He loved Muslims because he was so badly thrashed in South Africa. He was an inch from death. Thereafter, he was always pleasing the Muslims, and Hindus were the casualties. Also, he suppressed the highlights of Hindu culture and Hindu dharma. He distorted it. Why did he do that? So that, and that is what made the Hindus ignorant about their own philosophy. Because
But he had projected,
yeah,
but he had projected himself as a disciple of Narasimha, and then started singing Vaishnav Janko, all those things. And then I mean, he was behaving as if as if he was a very devout Hindu, but still he had betrayed Hindus.
yeah, he continued saying, I am a Sanatani Hindu, whatever that
Yeah.
means. He was a person who serves his own ego and who has such evil intentions and such hatred for the well-being of a nation. I don't think that person is belongs to a Hindu dharma at all. He distorted Bhagavad Gita. He declared Ram and Krishna as he said they are not gods because they were violent. So he was a messed up person. I think he was messed up with his own ego, that he was talking rubbish. So if anybody, and he himself made the Hindus coward. You see, every time the Muslims attacked, he blamed the Hindus. You did something. So they became bolder and bolder. And finally, one day he came out in one of the speeches, he said, you know, an average Muslim is a bully and an average Hindu is a coward. Who made them cowards? That don't do anything, you know, no violence against them. It is better to die at the hands of the Muslims or the violent person. Who made them cowards? Who made them lethargic? When you are following something, you check out your own mental faculties. That is the first thing you do. All these Babas and Sadhu Mahatmas, what do? They first take away your thinking power.
So but even in a democratic Indian, but even in a democratic India, we took so long to uncover all these things. Still, I mean, even now, so many people believe that Gandhi is a god, almost like that. I mean, particularly in the South, they have they do not know about all these things at all. They are put in absolute darkness by the media all the time.
That is the creation of Nehru family and Nehru dynasty, because they were carrying his name. So therefore, you see, they would raise the image of, and then Azad, secularism business, and Romila Thapar, the whole coterie of them. I mean, all of them were the creation of Gandhi and Nehru. And that is why I wrote more than half the book is Legacy of Gandhi. We are suffering now because of those two persons. You see? So absolutely, those Gandhi Bhagats, some of my friends, we have been friends for 20 plus years. They have not even congratulated me for writing a massive book. They even boycott me. Oh, Gandhi ji, you are writing against him. I'm not writing against him. I'm writing what he did and said. I'm not writing against him.
I can understand.
Sorry. There is one more somebody.
One more question.
Though I was reading almost.
Hello, Madam Ji.
Namaste.
My question is looking to the future. Since during the independence, during partition, we have lost quite a bit of land, both for Bangladesh and Pakistan. So, looking to the future, what should be India's strategy to not lose further land? Whether we should go secular or whether we should go Hindu, like a more Hindu ideology kind of thing, or how do you strike a balance is my question. so we
No.
don't lose further land.
Okay.
So land is the most important thing. So we don't
Land
lose
is
further land.
important. Culture is also unifying factor. Therefore, both are important. Land alone is not important. Okay. But answering your question, first of all, Hindu is not an ideology. It's a mixture of three things. It is a pure science, elements of physics, elements of psychology, and philosophy. So, Darshan Shastras are philosophy as well as physics and administration. Similarly, Upanishad. So, we have to get accustomed to changing the terms we use. We have to get rid of those terms. So, Vedic Dharma is science. We are nature worshippers. And we are the only people who wouldn't kill an ant. You see, we'll put some sugar on a piece of paper, they collect together and we take them out and they'll saunter back. You see, how can we be intolerant? So secular word was coined by the 19th century European philosopher because at that time Pope was the head of all the countries. So, and they were supposed to give 1/10 of the treasury to the Pope. So you understand where the secular word comes. How does it belong to us? To me, it doesn't matter what ideology you have. What matters is what is my dharma. As a mother, as a grandmother, as a fellow human being, as a teacher. You see, it is individual dharma which is compatible with the total nature and ultimately connecting us to the cosmic reality. So, first of all, Hindus should know Hinduism. It is not an ism. And if you want, there is a book, Hindu Dharma Teaching Guide, which I wrote, and it's available for $10 or less than that. And these are lessons how to teach Hindu Dharma as a science. So your question belongs there. And we should not tolerate, consider that all religions are equal. First of all, we are not religion. We are not a doctrine. We are not a canon, set of canons. We are dharma. And why it is not, you cannot change, I cannot change, nobody. Even Shri Krishna said that I cannot interfere with the cycle of cosmic reality. So there you go.
Okay, thank you.
We are 2 minutes from the hour, so we will close this session today here. Rajiv ji has shared a link bit.ly.Gandhi Partition, bit.ly/Gandhi Partition, which has all the 5 video sessions, the sessions that we have had, including this one. So people who have joined later can refer to those other videos also. All right. So we'll close now. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Kamlesh ma'am, for your valuable time and insights. And thank you to Rajiv ji for organizing this. I'm your host. I'm your moderator, Abhishek Chanda. So we'll take your leave now. Thank you.
Thank you.